Hi, Misha here, and a couple of people pointed out it's about time for another Blackbox. And as we get into this weekend, sure, why not? I've noticed I tend to do these more in the summer or spring because I like to sit outside and do them. I know something kind of feels restrictive about doing it indoors. But first, something fun. I'll get into the story more, but last week ran over to Target that we jokingly call Target, and I picked up a larger SD card because they had them on sale, and I am trying it in the camera now, but for some reason when I boot the camera it beeps. I don't know what message. Obviously some message is popping up, although if you're hearing this recording it obviously recorded okay, so I don't know what it says. Oh well. SD cards get finicky. I kind of miss the days of the larger cards. The small ones, to me, someone who grew up with the old 5 1/4 inch and 3 1/2 inch floppies, you know, that were half a meg, 1.44 megs later, able to fit 128, 256 gigabytes, even 512 and more on such a tiny little chip. It's amazing. I understand how it works technologically speaking, but from where we were at when I was a kid to this point now, and for that to be such an inexpensive technology, like this was a 256 gigabyte card and it was like $24. Yeah. We could barely buy a pack of 3 1/2 inch discs back in the day, and I would say that SD cards are kind of chancy. I've had more than one fail over time. Nothing like the old magnetic discs, though. In some ways, I think the 3 1/2 were even more volatile than the 5 1/4. It seems like the old 5 1/4 floppies held up pretty well. Better than you'd think, considering how, well, floppy they were and all that. Yeah, I don't know. Just fun. I remember when zip drives came along in the 90s. I know it was kind of a flash in the pan thing, but able to have 110 megabytes or 220, I believe was the next capacity up later. We're talking 97, 98, 99. What was neat about those, they came around about the same time as this thing, you probably never heard of it, called an MP3. Yeah, it's funny that's still a format that's being used. Before that, if we wanted to record songs, it was either MIDI quality or it was a WAV file. WAV files sound great, but were huge, especially by the standards of the 1990 hard drive. You weren't fitting those on discs, and CD rewritables were kind of a thing, and CD writables, you could get them on there, but they were on there. But the zip drives, we could transfer MP3s around. And another piece of technology came out, or rather software, Napster. The convergence of those three things definitely allowed us to share a bunch of music. You know what's funny? For me, and I can't speak for anyone else, I took a lot of songs from friends, but if I liked the song, I would inevitably buy the album or, ask for it for Christmas. I don't know. I think I realized that there's something still nice about having the physical disc or record, and it did sound better. MP3s are fine. The ones I ripped sounded pretty good because I can control the audio, but some of the ones you downloaded off the internet, they just weren't ripped to a terribly high quality, or they had artifacts, or they just had errors. So ironically, usually when I would buy an album, I would immediately copy it over the computer, but that didn't come till later. I will say that I carried around CDs for a long time, and that was kind of my hour in the evening I allowed myself to decompress. If I was studying or working, I always tried to budget about an hour to go outside, listen to an album, kind of one I selected, typically on a swing, just like this one. Wherever I could have a swing, wherever I lived, I did. So there were some interesting looks from places that put swings, and if I could not put a swing, by God, I was putting a wooden rocking chair out on a porch. I remember I lived on an apartment building And the apartment themselves didn't have balconies. We didn't have the walkways outside because it was outdoors. I had a chair out there, a rocking chair, and everyone kind of just knew, hey, that's my chair. I didn't mind if anyone used it, but I mean, even though it was kind of a public walkway, no one minded. And but I've always had that desire to get outside and get air. I don't know. It's just something I need, and I did it in high school. I did it in junior high. I've always enjoyed being an outdoors person. And speaking of, yeah, last week Fox came up here. Usually I go down to his place to shoot. We had excuses for why he came up, but I think mostly it was just to hang out and, yeah, to go to Target. Because we've been doing the NECA, the NECA, the NECA figure thing lately. Let me tell you how that's kind of going, and it's ended up being a lot of fun and kind of becoming a family event. So here's how it started. I was down in my hometown a while back now, and well, I was over at Fox's man cave. You've seen it in videos, and he showed me a Wolfman, I believe it was, in 7-inch scale. Now, as you know, I've been doing 6-inch scale for Star Wars for some time. And really, those are the only figures I owned. He showed me that Wolfman, cool. I really do think it's cool. I think the Mummy is particularly cool. But it's not really my bag, if you know what I mean. I can think something's cool, but not have it personally attract to me. But I've always liked Alien, and more importantly, Predator. Also, to a lesser extent, Terminator. Not that I didn't like him, you know what I mean. Kind of that more sci-fi horror film thing appeals to a couple of different aspects of my nature. Plus, the creature designs are always fun. Unfortunately, growing up, discounting that 12-inch Alien that Kenner made, they really weren't toys for that. I think there were some Predator toys that came out, again, by Kenner in the 90s, but by that point I wasn't buying toys. They look cool though. I remember, being with my little brothers in Toys R Us and stuff and going, kind of thinking, I wish I was a little younger, I'd buy these. I particularly remember the Alien and Predator 2-pack. And I know they also came out with kind of the comic book Aliens that looked nothing like the Aliens film, which just kind of confused the hell out of me. Oh well. But I knew about AVP because of the video game that was in the arcades at the time. I think it was 93, 94 when that came out. Of course, that would be 10 years before the first movie. So, back to my story. Hey, that's what Blackboxes are about. I got bored one night. I don't usually stay at Fox's house, sleep there. I go to my mother's house, my folks' house. And they go to bed early, or she goes to bed early, and I was just sitting around, just dicking around. Got on Amazon, I was like, let's see what they had in the way of Predator figures. And there are actually several companies that make Predator figures. Kind of indulging that inner child. I was like, I've got my Star Wars figures now. I kind of enjoy those. That line's kind of slowing down. I did get a couple of new Star Wars that were pre-orders that came in. HK-87 and the newest Luke, I really like them. I'll do a video sometime. Anyway, so I was like poking around. I was like, there's so many brands, types. I can't see pictures. I don't know what are the good ones, what are the kind of shoddy ones. And prices were anywhere from like $20 to $200. So, So I happened to ask Fox, because he had mentioned he had Predator figures before, and I thought he still had them. He's like, oh yeah, NECA. He's like, they're kind of the go-to for value versus what you get in price. Because I know like Hot Toys and stuff are objectively better, but they're super expensive. On the other hand, there are some cheaper ones that aren't really my thing. But if they're yours, that's cool. In fact, even NECA makes a cheaper line in the Classic series. But anywho, I thought, that's cool, NECA, Predator. And I said, well, I heard they had some problems with their joints a while back. Because I knew NECA from like 2010 when they were relatively young and kind of tuned out. And then on YouTube, heard things about they were having plastic breaking, joints breaking, QC issues. And that was about the time they started putting their figures in stores. Before that, they were more of a boutique thing. I remember the Hastings used to carry them. But he's like, nah, I think they fixed that. And I kind of looked around, and yeah, they did. So I was like, hey, can I see yours? And he's like, I actually sold mine years ago. I'm like, oh, I thought you still had them. Yeah. If I told you what he sold some of the figures for, and if you follow those at all, you'll cringe. Let's just put it this way. He had the entire, early series from AVP and all that. Figures that go for well over $100 now. His are still sealed in the package. He sold them for $20 each. So, I was like, why not? So I ordered a Jungle Hunter, City Hunter, the two from the main films. But my mistake was also ordering the Elder, Golden Angel. But I really liked him. He had the flintlock pistol. He's one of the most prominent Yautja besides the first two, because at least has a speaking line. And that was my problem. Then I started eyeing some of the other members of the Lost Tribe. And I thought, ooh, Scout looks neat. I like the idea that he's got a gun. Shaman was interesting. You see where this is going. So I thought, okay, I'm going to buy my 3 favorites, maybe. Yeah, I very quickly got all 10. Because I was like, okay, fine. But then I was like, well, the AVP figures seem interesting. They're a different body type. And meanwhile, me getting into it and kind of showing Fox, he decided to start getting into them as well. And so we've been kind of either finding ones for each other or buying and sharing. And then as it turns out, his little brother has the Terminator figures. I think some are McFarlane, some are NECA. So he's kind of been following too. And now Fox's daughter is getting interested in them. And I'm sure both of our wives think we're crazy. But that's really why he came up. We kind of scouted out a few stores like Target and see what they had. And I actually didn't buy anything for myself when I was there last week. Although I did pick up a couple for my brother. And Fox bought a couple of new ones. And yeah, about this time of night, I'll kind of poke around and see what's new. The fun thing about Amazon, eBay, there's always new stuff, or there's always a price drop. Like I just found a really good price drop just last night on one and grabbed it before they sold out. So it's really become just kind of a fun distraction, and it's become more of a family thing. Now, if you watch the video we did in the backyard, just talking about ourselves, I mentioned that we're really not into Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and not really into superheroes. Ironically, if there's one superhero that he and I got into a little bit when we were young, it was Batman for both of us. But even it was just more of an entertaining thing. I remember growing up with the Adam West, and then when the Tim Burton came out, I was pretty much the exact right age. Not a teenager yet, so I wasn't cynical, but I was also, double digits age, so it wasn't too dark and whatnot for me. And perfect. Again, I was pretty much the perfect age. So that kind of got me a little into it. I think I was like Batman because he was a detective and he was just a human. He had some cool technology, but no superpowers as such except money. His superpower was he was Mark Zuckerberg or Elon Musk, basically. If Elon Musk were a superhero, would his catchphrase be, "I'm Rocket Man"? I don't know. So our interests do kind of line up there, kind of both liking Predator. Now, Fox is more into Wolfman. And if I had to pick kind of that, like I said, I liked the Mummy. I liked Dracula just fine before the whole vampire craze kind of ruined vampires for a lot of us. And I liked the creature from the Black Lagoon. Had that the original. Is it Black Lagoon or Dark Lagoon? I always mix those up because there's a A movie made of both, Black Lagoon and Dark Lagoon, but I'm talking about the original, the black and white one, because I had that as a kid. My father actually found it for me. It was hard to find that in print in the 80s, but he found me a VHS of it, and it was one I enjoyed. So that was one creature that I was definitely into as a kid. But yeah, so we kind of nerded out to that, did a little family time, ate a bite, recorded a couple of gun videos. He had some NECA toys that had come in here I bought on eBay and kind of got like a bulk deal. He actually bought the 18-inch, the 1/4 scale Jungle Predator. That is a heavy son of a bitch. And, good size, but really heavy. It's a solid. I don't know if I expected it to be like hollow plastic, but it's weighty. Anyway, so I had that in for him. And he also picked up Pinhead from Hellraiser, which is kind of cool. I had picked up It for my brother. He likes It. They had a deluxe It on sale at Target. And, yeah, we did that. So it's been really enjoyable. But it's also been kind of dangerous because it's like when you have two alcoholics together and you kind of feed off each other. But this is far less destructive. And I think both of us kind of have the attitude of, well, it's cheaper than guns. NECA figures seem expensive until you start comparing to other things. And what's really funny is, as much as Hasbro has raised the price on Black Series, the NECAs are the same price or maybe like $5, $10 more. And they're physically bigger figures. And they come with lots more accessories. Like both of those new Black Series I got, they only had one accessory. And they're 6-inch. Whereas your Predators, because of their size, are roughly 8 to 8.5 inches. So just beefier figures. And then you get like the AVP ones, they're up to 9 inches, and they're chunky. And again, they're solid. It's been fun. I've indulged. I'm kind of coming to an end now. I picked up all the ones that I really wanted. One nice thing about being blind, I'm not really tempted to get repaints. It helps. So I'll be doing those videos. I do have a couple more plain videos, and never fear, we will definitely return to the NASA stuff. I thought after 4 NASA videos pretty close together, you guys could stand a break, but soon we're going to talk about Mir and the International Space Station. Separate videos, of course, but I found model toys of those, so that'd be fun. And got a few other rockets to talk about. So at least 3 more space videos in the works at some point, but I kind of go through cycles. I do have some more planes on order, but I'm kind of backing off on those because of the cost. Also, I'm just simply running out of shelf space, so it's a good excuse. But when really good ones come along, like that MiG-31, can't help myself. It's really nice to have the complete MiG fleet. Now if they would do some of the earlier Sukhois. But yeah, kind of getting off topic a bit there. So what else has been going on? Gun sales last week were just super dead. And this past weekend was one of the few weekends in memory where I didn't sell something of note. It actually ended up being a bit of a positive thing, though. It kind of inspired me to find some stuff that I'd squirreled away, what I call store demo guns that we've used for shooting videos and then plan to sell. Sometimes I debate keeping them. For example, shot that Benelli M3 convertible. Really thought about keeping it. I think if it had been a top folding, not a collapsing stock version, I would have. If it had been the more traditional M3. And I know the newer one's objectively a better gun. But it kind of inspired me to go ahead and put that up. On the other hand, I had an M2 that we shot for a video, and I had no real plans to keep it. Not that the M2 isn't a good gun. In fact, I love how lightweight the Benelli M2 is. But I knew it wasn't going to be a keeper. I thought maybe a family member might want it, but when no one spoke up after a couple of months, I'm like, okay, I'm going to move it along. It also inspired me to finish up a gun project I had. I was working on a SLR 106 from Arsenal, finishing it up. Probably going to put it up for sale. I will probably replace it in the collection with one of the Kalashnikov USA guns, the AK-104 pistol. It suits me a little bit better, and it's proven to be very reliable. I finished up the 5.2 project. In fact, we'll be taking it to the range this weekend. At least that's the plan. If you follow the main channel, the Italian Beretta PMX S pistol finally came in. I've been pretty excited to get my hands on one of those, and first impressions have been very positive. So that's another one I'm pretty thrilled to go shoot. Now if we can just find a stock for it, it'll be a prime SBR candidate, I believe. And of course, a fresh batch of guns came in from Switzerland just a day or two ago, with a few more due in later this summer, some more 5.50s. So things are picking up. But anyway, back to not really selling anything. It inspired me to even put some items up, some random magazines. Like I found a Scorpion 9x18 Makarov barrel that's been in the parts bin for a while that needs to go. Just stuff that I don't need, that maybe someone does, and it generates money. It's kind of just floor stuff, just stuff out of boxes. So, I got stuff up. And either because I did that or just the market's getting better, sales started to pick up around Wednesday, Thursday, and now several things have moved again. But the business always goes through these little droughts, especially beginning of May. People graduating or kids getting out of school, people planning on vacations, taxes are over, so they've spent their tax money. Things of that nature. But it's nice, and then actually, because sales were slow, that further encouraged the whole Predator buying. It also encouraged working on videos for this channel and the main one. I will confess that sometimes it's hard to come up with topics for the main channel. I know people don't seem to mind when I refocus or revisit a gun, but I kind of do. I always like to do new stuff. But if I'm going to revisit a gun, I kind of like revisiting Milsurp, like I did one on the Steyerman Lickers, even though I knew it wouldn't get many views. A gun I've always personally liked, so sometimes I just do videos for me. And if other people like them too, that's great. But yeah, we're gonna run a few rounds this weekend. It'll be a pretty truncated shooting trip, not a big one, just because scheduling has got a little more cramped than we had originally planned. But we'll squeeze in a few guns and then maybe try to get out in a couple of weeks and shoot a few more. But that'll be enough to make a couple more weeks of content for the main Mishaco channel. Over here, you'll get a few more Predator videos, and then, like I said, some airplane videos. And if I ever get time, more of a topical Blackbox. It's hard to, when I sit down, it ends up just kind of being an update. And to be fair too, it's hard to talk about any topics online. You think, oh, this is a sure thing people will like, but then people disagree. And I don't mind the ones that politely disagree. That's human. That's great. Honestly, it'd be a very boring world if everyone agreed. It's the ones that are aggressive about it that are, after as long as I've been on here, they don't bug me. I just kind of roll my eyes. And it's like, okay, whatever. But I really don't get on here to argue. I don't like arguing. I will if it's important, but I'd rather just chill with people and share things that we like together, instead of criticizing. I don't know. I understand the value, the importance of being critical, but at the same time, justified criticism vis-a-vis just, being a grumpy asshole. That's kind of where I draw the line. I guess my attitude is just life's too short. And I grew up in a time when instant gratification and toys and models weren't near as good as what most are today. So kind of like with the SD card I talked about at the beginning of this video, to some extent it just kind of amazes me. And I suppose I am a bit of a glasses half full person. I just find it's a better way to live for me. I'd really get up in the morning and be excited. I I guess I get my adrenaline rush from excitement rather than anger. Anger makes me feel weird. It makes me feel lightheaded and, ears beating. I don't like it. Kind of even almost nauseous. I don't like feeling very, very outraged and angry. I much more enjoy the giddy feeling of something new, or seeing a friend you haven't seen in a long time, or spending time with family, or learning about something new. Say like when that PMX came in, unboxing this gun that I've been wanting for a couple of years was pretty great. I much prefer that. Getting on the internet and arguing with people, it's not for me. If it were, I would have stayed in law school, but that's actually why I decided that was not my course of life many years ago. I didn't want to spend my life arguing. Some people really enjoy it, and they can do it dispassionately. Yes, it is actually possible to argue and not get feelings involved, believe it or not. But even at that, I just kind of figured out it's not how I'm wired personally. Not a judgment call, but we're all different, all different. Really wonder why that camera makes the beep noise when I turn it on now. The card's a SanDisk, and it says it's for high video. It hasn't cut off yet, so I'm sure it's something. I had to ask someone. It's a nice evening out. It's been raining here quite a bit. One reason we had to change our shooting plans. Saturday looks like it's the only day it's not going to be for sure raining. What else? All the cats are fine. Although I think my wife might kill the kitten. Although he's about to become a year old on May 23rd, so he'll be a full cat. But he's decided he's now a teenager. If anyone has ever had a cat, or even a dog, there's that stage when they're young and they like to just love on you. Then there's that stage where they're a little bit mischievous, but still that. And then they hit the teenager phase. Yeah. And then they grow up out of it and they're great again. But yeah, there's a few months there with a lot of animals. You just gotta endure it, where they've got way too much energy and they're big enough to really get into trouble. Even a few of the other cats are kind of done with him. But it's springtime too, so he's double feeling it. Of course, he's long since neutered, but even if you spay or neuter them, we notice they always feel a little more spry, get a little more vinegar in them when it comes to April, May, June, that kind of time of year. Even Hobo, our old mama cat, she's well into her teenage years, and come springtime, she's a little more jumpy, a little more talkative, follows you around a little more, sleeps a little less. Wintertime, she's just basically a lump that sleeps a lot of the day. But heaven forbid you sleep longer than she thinks, because she'll come up and start tapping you to wake you up because it's your time to pet her ears. She's actually the most intelligent cat I've ever had, and honestly one of the most loyal and loving too. I would say the most loyal and loving was Oscar, the one we lost last July. I know it's stupid. I really know. But we still really miss that cat. You think a lot of time goes by, but I don't know. I think because we rescued him, we nursed him back to health when he was a kitten, and he was always so grateful to us. Like, that cat trusted us 100%. We could have done anything to him, and he would have just looked at us like, okay, I know you got this, you're not going to hurt me. Like, that cat knew we would never hurt him. And that's rare for animals, except maybe Labradors, But maybe he was a Labrador in a cat's body. He did hang around with my Labrador dog before he passed away. When we got Oscar the cat, the lab was already 12 years old, so, he passed when he was 14. But Oscar's first 2 years were with him, and he kind of modeled, and those two got on well. But, yeah, still miss that little guy. And another part is, too, he sat on my chair with me when I worked all day, and he just sit there. Once in a while, he'd just kind of nose me, wanting a little head scratch, a little ear scratch, and he never got aggressive about it. Just a little bit of, hey, I'm here. Just a little reassurance. Then he'd go back to just sitting there next to me and purring quietly to himself. It really is sometimes easier to get attached to dogs and cats than it is people. I don't know why. But when I do get attached to people, I do get deeply attached. It takes a lot. In fact, a good friend of mine's going through a lot of personal trouble right now, and I wish to God I could help him, but I can't. Only he can help himself, and I know this. It still sucks to watch someone you care about suffer, but I'm rooting for him. Really am. Don't know, guys. Don't know. Finally turned warm here, though. It's not blazing hot yet. Highs in the 80s, but for a long time I was kind of not sure. But, yeah, looking forward to the spring, getting some more shooting done. Maybe a bit of travel. Kind of half work, half pleasure type thing. Finishing up my Predator collection. Waiting to see what the new what is it? Not Mastercraft. The new Eagle Moss. Sorry, it's late and I'm tired. What is it? Mastercraft models? There's so many that are master things. Anyway, the new one. Right now they've released new things, but it's all old Eagle Moss stock. I'm really interested to see when they start doing their own thing. I'll probably do an episode here talking about Picard Season 3 and the whole Picard series. But not tonight. I'm too tired. It's a bit polarizing, though. I know a lot of the internet loved it. My wife actually really did not like Picard Season 3. Let's discuss that sometime. I can understand both sides. But that's definitely nostalgia for my generation. I'm Captain Kirk, I like, and I definitely grew up watching reruns of Star Trek, but it was 60s, and I'm in the 80s, so it's like, okay, I get it, but it's even by then, kind of like the same way I watched the Adam West Batman. It was fun, but even then we knew it was a little campy. Nah, it was Next Generation. Picard was my captain. I remember when season 1 and 2 came out, and then for some reason after season 1 and 2, either maybe the TV channel, because they were syndicated and they were kind of carried by whatever channel, maybe the time slot. I don't know why, but I tuned out after season 2 for a minute, for a couple of years. But then a friend got me back into them after Best of Both Worlds had happened, but not too long after. So maybe it was season 4 or 5. I think it's season 5 he kind of got me back in. So watched season 1 and 2, then kind of skipped out on 3 and 4, and then hopped back in around 5, and then watched 5, 6, and 7 live. And of course I was able to catch up on 3 and 4, although it wasn't as easy back then as it is today. Luckily in our area they started running Next Generation at 4 p.m. Monday through Friday or Monday through Thursday after school. So just enough time to get home, and by that time, was I in junior high? I was probably upper elementary at that point. Not too young, but not old. So Picard was my thing. Now, of course, Kirk at that time was the film captain. If that makes sense, when I really knew him, because I remember watching Wrath of Khan, not in the theater. I was a little too young for Wrath of Khan at the theater. I was alive then, but a little young. But I watched it on HBO when it came out. And, I really enjoyed it. Probably the first... Yeah, because I didn't see the motion picture. I remember having to get it later. But I watched 2 on HBO. I watched 3 at that same friend's house that got me back in the Next Generation. And I think everyone and their dog watched 4. I didn't watch 5 when it came out because that was too good of a summer. That was the Batman coming out and Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade. So 5 passed me by. Again, I watched it in a home video. And I was a kid. I didn't hate it. It was a fun film. The comedy, the beans jokes, the whiskey joke. And then 6 came out. I remember watching 6 and actually really digging it. By that point, I was kind of old enough to appreciate it. A young teenager, 12, 13. And I did see the next films, next Generations, and First Contact. I actually went to see First Contact for my birthday. Timing was good, so a few friends and I, guess we would have been high school then. Sorry, guys. Went and saw it, and I remember having a particularly good time. And I did not see Nemesis in the theater, but I pirated it online. I didn't hate it, but yeah, it was what it was. It's kind of a bit of a whimper. The Next Generation films kind of just didn't have the right direction going on, unfortunately. But that's no knock on the cast themselves. They were doing their part, especially Jonathan Frakes when he directed a couple. His direction wasn't the problem. Yeah, I was thinking about Star Wars. The only Star Wars I didn't see in the theater was actually Attack of the Clones 2, which would have been right around the same time as Nemesis. I was in college at that time, finishing up undergrad, getting into grad school, and money was tight. And at that time, I could just download them on the internet. Internet speeds were enough then. So there was a period of time there that I didn't go to the theaters much. Yeah, even though I'm blind, I like going to the theater. It's a social thing. But I remember starting to go back to the theater around 05, 06. I went with my family to see Revenge of the Sith because they all like Star Wars. I saw the at the time new Indiana Jones, Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. Didn't hate it. I don't know, really. I mean, it had goofy parts, but I mean, have you seen some of the other Indiana Jones? They all had goofy parts. I know, hindsight, nostalgia, we kind of forget about it, but even Temple of Doom, which is usually thought of as dark, and it is, it had some goofy parts, guys. Yeah, it's all fun. I remember going with actually it's the same friend who's going through some personal troubles right now. We've known each other 25 years, but went with him and his mother, who was an old school Trekkie from the 60s, to see Star Trek 2009, and again, we had a lot of fun. I could poke fun and holes in 2009. In fact, there's one or two things about that film that really, really bugged me. But other things I really liked. Excellent soundtrack. Good actors. A very likable cast. R.I.P. Anton Yelchin. I really did like that tribute to him they did in the final episode of Picard Season 3. That kind of got me in the feels a little bit, I'm not going to lie. Into Darkness, I watched it when it was on, not home video. By that point, I think it was on Netflix. I didn't go to the theater to see it. It was good only because I was in an altered state of mind when it came out. So, yeah, if you want to enjoy Into Darkness, just, eat a couple of things and go for a trip, and it's a much more enjoyable film. Still never referred to how Sherlock Holmes was in that, though. It didn't make sense. But, if Data played Holmes, why not, I suppose. Luckily, my wife does like Star Trek, too. We might disagree on which Star Trek we like. She didn't grow up with Next Generation, so she doesn't have the nostalgia. She actually, I think, likes Voyager the most. But she likes it, so we can at least discuss it in a reasonable way. It's nice to share things. What we definitely don't share are the whole NECA figures things. Again, Fox and I's wives just kind of roll their eyes and probably make fun of us behind our backs. But, we don't care. We're having fun. And we're not hurting anyone. And we're not breaking the bank. I mean, what's the point of becoming an adult if you can't kind of behave like a kid sometimes? No, to be fair, life's been kind of trying the last couple of months. The whole Tucker Carlson thing, we could talk about that in another video. I will say, though, only my luck, only my family's luck could take him down. Yeah, that was a kind of shocking thing after everything happens. I have no idea where that footage we recorded ended up, if technically Tucker owns it or Fox, if it'll ever get aired or just kind of get thrown in the vault. I'm afraid that's what's going to happen. Just our luck. Oh well. C'est la vie. Nothing ventured, nothing gained, right? A few of the things that I have been working on, I'm getting suspicious are going to fall through. But again, nothing I did. That's just life. You try and try and try, and if it works, great. And if not, you move on to the next project. I had another consulting, contracting job lined up, and I'm getting really suspicious it's not going to happen. But, oh well. If that doesn't happen, something else will. I mean, it's the attitude you have to have, really. Can't sweat everything. Have a stiff drink and sleep on it. Do what you gotta do and move along. But, yeah. Kind of talked about doing a black box, so we have done a black box. Again, hopefully with this beeping camera, this all turns out okay. It seems to be recording. Otherwise, I just wasted a lot of time sitting out here. Of course, you'll never know it because you won't hear this. If you hear it, then it all worked fine. So, hope everyone's having a good spring. If anyone's in school or kids in school getting out, hope that's all going well. It's kind of nice to get back to normal in 2023. Really, really is. But, yeah, I think I'll call it a night. Head in, try to get some sleep, because I gotta take a little trip tomorrow. See some family for a minute. Do some shooting. Yeah, like I said, we'll try to do a topical video soon, but they're really hard to do. It's hard to think of a topic that won't get people going. I've kind of thought about covering sovereign citizens. They're entertaining folk. I really probably should address the whole Ukraine situation, because that is at least something I did study for a number of years, and I've lived in Russia and visited Ukraine, so while I am not an expert, I can almost promise you I have more first-hand experience than most people. Not all, but most. Anywho, I wish everyone a good weekend. Check out the upcoming Predator videos here, and over on Mishaco we'll have some fresh shooting footage and stuff going on as well, and a few surprises to boot. This is Misha, and I'm going to bed.